Hello from Baranovici here on the 7th of October 2022, and it's a nice sunny warm day here. We haven't had a lot of sunny days lately. That looks beautiful areas here. Just doing a little walk around here. There's news coming from the leader of Poland. He likes to continue to stir up a lot of controversy all the time with his threats of war. Always. Oh, I see the babushkas and the dadushkas are having their meetings deciding the fate of the world. And along with that, probably if their son-in-law is able to repair the fence at the dacha or not. Maybe do they need to get milk, oranges? What about bread? I don't know. But anyhow, the leader of Poland has decided that he wants nuclear weapons on his territory to point at Russia. Well, Belarus. It's about as ludicrous as hearing about the leader of Finland wants to join NATO. They had this beautiful pact of neutrality for a long time. Wouldn't have to put really any money into their military. They could have it freed up for putting into their economy. As you know, military budgets are just a waste of money. It's lost money. Unless you go to war and you gain some sort of conquest. Because if you have neutrality, you don't have anything to fear. Nobody's going to attack you, for the most part. And that's how it was with Finland. They were guaranteed neutrality by Russia unless NATO wanted to attack them. Very strange. You know, but I guess they don't trust Russia. Look at all those times that Russia has broken treaties. Never. It's always the other side. All of these NPF treaties, everything is always broke by the United States first, and then Russia has to respond. It's like a nation that has to always respond to provocations, and yet the United States always blames them. It's like the provocation with Ukraine right now. You know, all those years, starting in at least 1991, that NATO promised never to go to expand 1 inch towards the east. And yet they've done so 8 times, and then they were saying they're going to take on Ukraine as well, which is right on the border of Russia, even though they already have weapons right on the border of Russia and other places. But Ukraine is, I guess, a bigger insult. So, and Russia warned them, says, no, you don't go for Ukraine, or else there's going to be some serious consequences. And the United States and NATO, of course, ignored Russia. And that brings us to what's going on today. Great, huh? I don't know if you've heard this, but the United States government has ordered $300 million worth of anti-radiation sickness tablets from the pharmaceutical industrial complex. So I wonder what that means. I wonder if they're suspecting something's going to happen. I don't know. You hear about all this talk about nuclear war, so it's just something to think about. If you have any more clues, let me know. I'd like to hear what's going on. As informed people might know right now, it's been admitted that there's NATO troops in Ukraine at the moment, but to the extent, you probably don't know. There's even some videos. Some individual soldiers put videos on YouTube, and I guess they titled it. Let's see if I have this written down here. "We are already here." And in that video, they show some landscapes that have a light powdering of snow, but it hasn't snowed. So, in truth, it doesn't mean it's fake, but it's the truth of it is that U.S. soldiers have been there since 2014. There's a lot of videotapes, of American soldiers, and you can't just say that these are mercenaries. They're not mercenaries. A lot of them are regular soldiers. And it reminds me of back in the time when I was in the Army during Desert Storm. We had soldiers deep into Iraq territory long before they declared Desert Storm. So they were storming bunkers, and I wasn't there, but some of the soldiers that in my unit were there, and they all said the same thing. They were deep in Iraq before the war started, or the operation, if you want to call it that. So, but there's special forces, also operating in Ukraine, and I assume that a lot of them have been operating since the very beginning as well. And the leader of the Lugansk Republic, he came out with a statement the other day, and he said that they're finding out that about 80% of these Ukrainian soldiers are not even Ukrainian. 80%. They're NATO soldiers. So, but to that degree is incredible. 80%. So you can imagine, maybe he's a little bit exaggerating, but at least a good 50% of the soldiers fighting in Ukraine are not even Ukrainian. So, and they're NATO soldiers, and obviously special forces. And but I guess, like I said, now it's been admitted that, and I guess it's President Biden himself that has committed these soldiers to Ukraine. They call this a Presidential Covert Action Finding, PCAF, and I guess you can call it piss off, because that's kind of how that acronym sounds when you pronounce it as a word. PCAF, piss off. So it's a piss off operation. I don't know. Maybe Joe Biden's pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. You can read it any way you want to. But in all fairness, though, even though Joe Biden has promised no boots on the ground, just like they said in Iraq, no boots on the ground. I don't know. Are they wearing tennis shoes? Are they wearing? I don't know. Who knows what's going on? But you know that a lot of these soldiers are from the UK and from Poland. There's a lot of soldiers from Poland in Ukraine, and if they want to spill their blood, that's fine. That's up to them. That's their choice. And at one point in time, remember that Vladimir Putin said he hasn't even started yet. But as you see, lately, Russia has lost a little bit more ground, some in Kherson, or whatever, anyway. But somebody, Patrick Lancaster, said just yesterday that Russians lost 16 villages. So you have to be fair, and you have to say, it's not that Russia's winning everything all the time. And everybody's heard of a few of these areas, Lyman, that Russia lost. Actually, they didn't have sufficient forces for the task, so they have a way too big front line, and they didn't have enough soldiers, and that's of course why they called this, a draft, technically, for 300,000 more soldiers. But in fact, they're going to have a lot more than 300,000. There are, of course, the Chechens coming back, and there's the Wagner group. They've added some, and there's a lot of foreign people that are trying to volunteer to get into the Russian military. And a lot of these people that they called up, Russia was supposed to just call up reservists, but a lot of people are volunteering, even though they're not subject to the draft. In the West, I'm sure that they're only telling you about the ones that run, but they run in every country. Remember Vietnam? So many draft dodgers, and most of them all went to Canada. But that's how that works out. It's always that way whenever there's some kind of a war. Even though most of them, they probably would never have been called up in the first place. Just about everybody of that military age and that are reservist have been, well, not ordered, but they've been requested to go to, let's say, a recruiting officer, to the proper authorities, and to update their data. So, and if they're students, of course, you don't go. If you're an engineer, you can't go, or they're not going to call you. Probably if you put on a lot of weight, But some people just don't bother going, and some people don't bother go, and they take off. And I've been hearing that there's a lot of Russians, maybe the wealthier ones, and they're They're driving to the border of South Ossetia, and they leave their cars there. They just, pack up their valuables, stick it in the car. They have a car. They drive to the border, and they get out of the car and just cross the border, and they leave their car. So I don't know. People are snapping up these cars, I suppose. But I was beginning to wonder, with all these Ukrainians dying, they're throwing themselves like in Krasny Liman. Apparently 4,000 Ukrainians died trying to take that town, and it turns out it's not really that significant. It's important to Zelensky apparently, but not to Russia. So they got most of their troops out of there, knowing that they can't really protect it because they didn't have enough troops. But how they lost. It's not like they were losing soldiers. They had so many Poles and even Americans, and who knows who they were wasting and getting the thousands that were dying. That's probably how they figured out that 80% of the soldiers that are going against them in the Donbass are not even Ukrainian in the first place. But one thing that's funny is, like at least around a week ago, when before it was acknowledged that the United States has troops in Ukraine, and they've always had troops there, this failed general, David Petraeus, he was a failure in Iraq, a failure in Afghanistan, and then he was a CIA director, and he was a failure there too. It makes you wonder how somebody gets promoted like that when they're always failing. But anyway, David Petraeus was just saying a week ago, no boots on the ground. So he's saying there's no soldiers in Iraq, and they're not going to put any soldiers, in Ukraine, and they're not going to put any soldiers in Ukraine. Well, that's a surprise on that one, And it's like a little bit like what was his name? The other Mike Pompeo. What did he say? I think he said something similar. We're not going to put boots on the ground. Another CIA. But at least Mike Pompeo had the decency to come out and admit. He says, and his words were, "We lie, we cheat, we steal." So, that's what it's all about. That's a good portion of the U.S. government, but particularly the CIA. That's what it's all about. It's strange because a lot of other countries, their intelligence gathering is just intelligence gathering. And of course, you have a few that also have sabotage units, like, I don't know, am I allowed to say it? Israel has sabotage units as well, just like the United States, and MI6, of course, Brits have that as well, sabotage units rather than just information gathering. Well, another thing that's noteworthy is that you see that Biden is going to Venezuela and trying to coax Maduro to let Chevron back in. And why Chevron? Why Chevron? Why not Exxon or Mobil or something like that, Standard? I don't know. And it was very strange because you see this that the U.S. blew up these pipelines, and it turns out that at least one part of Nord Stream 2 is practically fully operational, so they're ready to pump gas through that one. But right after this, somebody was playing tapes on the internet showing Condoleezza Rice, who, by the way, worked at Chevron. She was in the Bush administration. Can't remember what was her title. I don't know if she was Secretary of State or some sort of an advisory position. Who knows? But she was calling for taking down Nord Stream pipeline. I don't know. Maybe she was saying get rid of Nord Stream 1 and 2. But anyway, she was the first advocate to sabotage those pipelines. So, and she was a big executive at Chevron. That's kind of strange, isn't it? But apparently this move by Poland asking the United States to put nuclear bombs in their country aimed at Russia and Belarus has something to do with a payback. Why would you want nuclear bombs anyway? But a payback for Poland allowing the United States to build a big military base in Poland. And it's right on the border of Ukraine, so it's easy access to funnel in American soldiers back and forth and to, bring the weapons, HIMARS and whatnot, into Poland and then send them right across the border to Ukraine. So it makes me wonder how long that's going to last. But that's a dangerous precedent right there. But they're making it be a permanent military base, a permanent United States military base. Great, huh? Well, that's essentially all I have to say today. This is still like 7th of October 2022. But yeah. Anyway, I thank anybody for paying attention, watching this, and feel free to subscribe and give me a like if you wish. I'm not monetizing these, but I just like to know if I'm on the right track, if people really appreciate what I'm saying or not. And if you want, comment. If you have any extra information for me, let me know. I'd appreciate hearing it. And again, thanks for watching.